After 44 years as Maria on Sesame Street, Sonia Manzano is packing up and leaving the neighborhood. She joined the show in the early 1970s and has earned 15 Emmys. But she revealed Thursday that the current season of Sesame Street would be her last. Sonia, say it isn't so. We all know you as Maria, 44 years on Sesame Street.
Yes.
Why now?
Well, if I knew it was going to create such a stir, I would have left years ago. But I just decided to devote most of my time, or all of my time, to writing my books. I have 2 books to be published very soon, and I wanted to devote all my time to them. I had no idea that my leaving the show was going to cause so much interest and stir in social media and every place else, and I'm very gratified about that.
Are you planning to write about your time on Sesame Street or something else?
No, actually, I've written a book called Becoming Maria, Love and Chaos in the South Bronx, and it's about my life up to my audition on Sesame Street, and I innocently mentioned that at a librarians convention in San Francisco a few days ago, and that's how it got picked up that I had left Sesame Street. And so my book examines my life up to Sesame Street, and which made me reveal that the 46th season of Sesame Street will go on without me.
This is a big deal. I mean, I was watching you. I hope you don't take offense to this, but you've been on Sesame Street as long as I've been alive, and I watched you as a toddler. And I have to say, I mean, I think your legacy is you were probably the first Hispanic person I saw on television.
Yes.
And heard speak Spanish.
Yes, I believe that's probably right, and I can attest to that because I was born and raised in New York City, and I watched a lot of television when I was a little girl, and very affected by the fact that I never saw anybody who looked like me or lived in the same kind of neighborhood that I lived in. And this is a tough idea for me to get across to young people. In 1969, there were no people of color on television. No way, no how. There was Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best. And I would watch those families and wondered where they lived and how come both the mother stayed at home when my mother worked and why they had pancakes when we had other things to eat. So I think that Sesame Street wanted to break that idea, and they called me to be one of the people, to be a role model for the little Latino kids watching the show. So in essence, I became what I needed to see when I was a kid by being Maria on Sesame Street.
And I think we take Sesame Street for granted now because it's been around for so long, but we forget how groundbreaking that was. So maybe the better question is, why did you stay? Now, why are you leaving? I assume that's part of it.
It stays because every year, I've stayed on the show rather because every year there's a new crop of children that gives us an opportunity to do a better job. I've stayed for so long because I was allowed to change and grow with the show. I started out as a teenager, I got married on the show, I had a baby on the show. It sort of followed my real life. It paralleled my real life, which kept things interesting. And also the the needs of children changes every year.
So what is Luis and the Fix-It shop going to do without you?
Well, I've been fixing the same toaster for about 40 years.
It's time somebody else fixed the toaster.
Somebody else tried. I can't do it. And between you and me, 40 years is a long time waiting for Oscar the Grouch to propose.
You've had a ton of celebrity guests on Sesame Street over the years. Who's your favorite? What moment sticks out for you as something you'll always remember?
I have to say it was Stevie Wonder. When he came on and he did Very Superstitious, that great hit of I guess it was the 70s, and the whole studio rocked. And what was wonderful was that everybody was on the same page of goodwill. Old people, young people, kids, white people, black people. And it was sort of what Sesame Street was about, and it came together in that moment. And then Tony Bennett, of course, before Lady Gaga, before he was hanging out with her, he was hanging out with Big Bird on Sesame Street.
Wow. I don't think we have many kids watching, so I think it's okay to ask you, how long is it going to take you to get Elmo's voice out of your head?
His voice will always be in my head. I'll never get it out.
Is there one of those iconic characters that you felt the most strongly about?
Well, I love Oscar the Grouch. I mean, there's a reason I made that joke about being in love with him, because he's very nuanced, and you can't tell if you're talking to an 8-year-old or a 40-year-old. And I think that's the genius of Jim Henson Muppets, is when they're nuanced. And there's a lot of stuff going on these very simple kind of sock puppets almost with googly eyes. They're very simply constructed.
So Sesame Street will turn 50 in a couple of years. Do we think we'll see Maria back on the street ever again?
Well, I don't know. They might call me back for some special appearance.
It's a pretty amazing legacy, and congratulations. I mean, no one gets to keep a job for 44 years,
know.
especially that kind of job.
I've been blessed. Thank you very much. It's been terrific.
Best of luck. And this was an amazing thing to be able to talk to you, because just hearing your voice in person when I've heard it so many times from such a young age, it's pretty cool.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.